All right, everyone, we start off today lamenting the ignominious end of Andy Cuomo's political career because the gig is up. He's got a second Me Too allegation against him now by a woman named Charlotte Bennett, who worked as an aide for him. He's got two allegations against him of sexual harassment and impropriety. He's got the COVID problem where even some Democrats in New York are calling him to be ousted from office for lying about death tolls. His career is fundamentally done. He's not going to survive this politically. If he maintains office at all, he'll be ignored by the MSM because it'll be political dead weight. They've obviously decided on globalism, and he's been their little good pawn. But once he's no longer useful, which is the second the election ended, they don't need him anymore, so they're not going to defend him the same way. You saw they did a 180 as soon as the election was over. First and foremost, though, there will be a pinned comment if you're watching this on YouTube to 4 other video hosting sites, links thereof, that I use. As of a week from now, roughly, I will be making 2 alt tech exclusives every single day. They'll be on those 4 sites. They won't be on YouTube. The reason why is because YouTube, there's a declining reward for the actual effort put into the site at this point. Most political commentators that don't have multi-million-dollar contracts at this point are barely growing. Like, my channel's growing, but it's slowed to a crawl. So if I can grow much more quickly on other sites, why wouldn't I prioritize them? It's just common sense. Anyway, Cuomo's facing second harassment allegations here. Now, I would like to point out, this is in all fairness, and this is something the Democrats don't do, so we'll be talking about hypocrisy a lot in this video. If there is an allegation against a person, or 2 or 3 allegations or whatever, the preponderance of evidence needs to be taken into account. So far, we don't have a picture of Cuomo harassing anyone. We don't have an audio recording. We don't have a video recording. We don't have anything untoward. We know that he's a hothead. We know that he lied about COVID deaths. We can prove that. We can see the internal numbers. We know that he's already done impeachable shit. He should be removed from office. He should be dragged out of there kicking and screaming, and he should be dumped in the East River. That being said, we don't have any proof of the allegations by these 2 females against him. It could be for political reasons. It could be they just didn't like the workplace and they said, well, you know, he's got this one allegation against him. I'm going to join in. He can't disprove it. The problem with the Me Too movement is that in order to defend yourself, you have to prove a negative, and you can't. Basically, someone says, you know, you did X, Y, and Z, you said X, Y, and Z, there's no recording, there's no evidence, there's nothing. There's only their claim, but you still get tossed under the bus, and that's what the Democrats will do. They did this with Al Franken for different reasons. You remember, there are some cases in which you have actual evidence. If this chick were saying, well, you know, Andy Cuomo's dick leans 45 degrees to the left, and then they could get a picture of his cock and it leans 45 degrees to the left, that would be some corroboration of a claim. This is what you had with, like, Al Franken. We had a picture of him groping a sleeping reporter. We had a picture of it. They tried to gaslight, by the way, and claim that the victim actually claimed that it was just a joke at the time through her lawyers, and totally gaslit things. I can still remember that. That was Gillibrand's shining moment, was throwing Franken under the bus when some Democrats were still trying to circle the wagons. The problem with Cuomo is this. His problem is that he was very, very much at the forefront of the COVID thing because New York was such an epicenter of the virus initially. They wanted to basically portray him as the anti-Trump. The problem is it turns out the anti-Trump's got 2 Me Too harassment allegations against him and lied about the COVID totals. The reasons that they had to hold him up, well, he's noble as opposed to Trump being a degenerate. He's telling the truth as opposed to Trump lying to us, and he's a good person and did the right thing. It's fallen completely flat. Right now, Ron DeSantis is taking a victory lap because Florida's case total is still dwindling. The per capita death rates keep falling down the list. He's now in the lower half, and Florida never had a lockdown. The Dakotas are doing the same thing. Trust me, it's imploding in the Democrats' face right now. The last thing that they want is to try to defend Andy Cuomo when he's become a symbol of the failure of far-left lockdown policies while he's also facing multiple allegations. They could be completely libelous. I'm probably mispronouncing that, by the way. It could be just pure slander. It could be that these allegations are bullshit, but they're going to toss him under the bus anyway. There is a better than 50-50 chance he's forced to resign over this. They're not going to, like, remove him from office by force. They'll give him a chance to resign. They'll do him a solid so that he can have his continued income, his pension, as former governor. Keep in mind, though, the Democrats don't have a reason to defend him, and here's why. Now that the election is over, there's no reason to defend him because they can just replace him with another Democrat. It's New York. They're a dime a dozen. They've got hundreds and hundreds of crooked, cronyist Democrat machine politicians waiting in the wings to do the same thing. The fact that Andycuomo falls from grace doesn't mean you get a Republican New York governor. To be clear, you're not going to have such a seismic political shift that becomes feasibly possible. The Republicans won't even bother to contest it. They'll have some random person that they say, okay, yeah, you're allowed to go and lose against Cuomo and be the also-ran. That's basically what'll happen. Whoever comes after will presumably not be closely connected to Cuomo, because that would be politically dead weight as well. But they will toss him under the bus. And they should. The Democrats will do the smart thing. They're not going to bother defending the dude. It's funny because sometimes when things like this happen among Republicans, if the claim is bullshit, the Republicans scatter and run and say, oh my God, please don't call me bigoted and hateful and extreme. But when there's a legitimate claim, the Republicans awkwardly try to circle the wagons. The Democrats, to their credit, strategically speaking, generally are more intelligent. On this, though, they're not gonna defend him. There's no proof that he did anything like this. Although we know, I think, didn't he have like nipple rings or something in some conference call or something years ago, and he's obviously into some weird shit. There's no proof, though, that he sexually harassed anyone. There's no recording. We don't have a recording on video or phone. We don't have a Zoom call where he's got his cock out like that other politician there several months ago. We don't have that. But it doesn't matter. The problem is that you're guilty until proven innocent if there's a Me Too allegation of any kind because of the way the court of public opinion works, because nobody wants to defend you. And then it turns out that there is proof, and they're like, oh my God, I defended a rapist. Oh my God, I defended a pedophile. Oh my God, I defended somebody who sexually harassed his aides. Nobody wants to be that person. Yeah, I have to go out on a limb just to defend Marilyn Manson at this point, even though everyone knew he was a fucking weirdo. With Cuomo, though, he's not going to find any political friends. It's going to be funny to watch the same Democrats who held him up. And go back through their Twitters. You should start archiving this. Go back through prominent Democrats' Twitters and search for Cuomo. And start archiving tweets where they praised him. Because that'll come in very, very handy in the subsequent midterms. Oh, yeah, you're running for re-election to the Senate. Well, you praised Cuomo for months, and then it turns out that he was sexually harassing people while killing grandma. What do you have to say? I want you to disavow Andycuomo. You can drag him. Drag them on this. Do the ritual disavowal strategy thing that the Democrats are so good at doing. It'll be very, very funny, especially again with Cuomo, who was a rising star within the party, one of the most recognizable Democrats at the moment. Andycuomo is in the top tier. He's up there with Biden or Pelosi. He's not some, I mean, most governors, nobody knows even fucking their name. DeSantis, and for the right reasons, Newsom for the wrong ones. Maybe Whitmer or something. Most of them, often you don't know who the governor of another state is unless they do something really wrong. Like, nobody knows the governor of my state because he's just a rhino. With Andycuomo, though, he got all of this fame and fortune, and then his crazy brother Frito was doing his thing where he broke his own confinement to leave his basement to go on a jog, and got into it with a biker, actually, at one point, and it's very, very funny, the hypocrisy there. It's also funny to watch the hypocrisy with regards to the Syria strikes as well from Fredo and from his brother. But he's not going to survive this politically. If he maintains his office at all, like if he resists the calls to resign or be impeached, and it doesn't work, and he maintains that position, he will be much more embattled, and he'll have much less leverage and power. He's not going to make a serious run at this point for the presidency. It'd be impossible. They wouldn't have enough time to whitewash him. That's about all. Peace out.